Most people dream, but they don't get anything done. Most people even plan, but they don't get anything done. It's because they have too much on their mind. This brain only can juggle 3 or 4 thoughts at a time. And if you have too much going on in your brain, you become overwhelmed. And overwhelmed means you just got so much to do, you can't even take a step towards your dream and your ultimate goal. So what I like to do is to simplify things. I only like to have 2 or 3 projects going on at the same time. And there's a story from the biography that I showed you just a few minutes ago in the library. Steve Jobs, he's running one of the largest companies in the history of the world, Apple. And every year he takes 100 of his top employees and he takes them on a retreat for 3 full days. These are out of thousands of employees. These are the top 100. And they brainstorm for 3 days to come up with the plans for the next year. And they organize and plan and think and argue about the top 20 projects, the top 20 products they could create for that next year. And after the entire 3 days, they put it into a list of the top 10. And Steve Jobs comes up to the list at the very end, and he does this every time. He crosses out the bottom 7, and he points to the top 3, and he says, we can only do these 3. In other words, we need to say no to everything below. We need to say no to every other idea or opportunity. We're going to only do 3 things this year, 3 projects that we're going to work on. And I think that's a fabulous way of thinking. In other words, yes, you have your normal job perhaps. You have your life and your family and your health and eating. That's just normal life. But in terms of the projects you're working on, I think in terms of money-making projects, you should only have 2 or 3. And for me, I only have 3. And I have to say no to everything else. You know, one of the greatest billionaires on the planet, Warren Buffett, he says, you know, the real secret is to learn how to say no to most everything. Almost everything that comes on his desk, he says no, 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 no. He only says yes to a few things. And when we go into the library here in a few minutes, into my theater, by the way, when I go into the theater, I'm going to share with you a few of the projects I think you should be doing. But now is about the planning process. And so organizing the 5-year plan into a 1-year plan into a 1-day plan. Those are the 3 chunks of time. I want to simplify it for you. I don't want to make it too complicated. 5 years from now, what are 3 things that must be accomplished? 3 projects that must come to fruition, that must be successfully finished. You know, if you think about 5 years from now, or 3 or 4 years from now, a further distance, what are those 3 things for you? I know exactly what they are for me because I had to make decisions and I had to say no to everything else. And I focus on only those 3 projects. Then I have to decide what must be done this year. What is so important that I make it done this year? I don't have a goal. I don't have a plan. I have what I call a done. I decide these 3 things must be done this year. And I know exactly what they are for me now. You know, I plan out until the 1st of next year. I know exactly what I need to accomplish. And then in order to accomplish those things in this next year, today, what do I have to do today? What must get done today? That'll move me 1 step up the mountain. There's a daily step, there's a weekly, you know, a boundary, and then there is a 5-year done. It's accomplished. It's finished. It's finished so much that you can say you've accomplished it. And when I sit down to do my planning, you know, I literally break my projects into 3 basic steps. And I think about what are the 3 things I want to do in 5 years? And then what are the 3 things that must be done this year? And in terms of taking a step up the mountain, and then what must be done today. And this process takes me 10, 15 minutes at the most every single day. It gives me clarity about what to say no to. If an opportunity comes to me, I look at my already decided plans, and I decide, am I going to have to remove one of these 3 particular ideals from my 5-year plan? Am I going to replace that with this new opportunity? Or do I say no to the opportunity? And most of the time, like 99.9% of the time, I say no to everything else, everything. But every once in a while, if something is really an opportunity that is spectacular, I check with my intuition. Is this the right thing to do? Can I take one of my organized, planned items off of my list and replace it with this new thing? My intuition. Intuition is an extremely important part of success. If you look at the people who've climbed the top of the mountains, who are successful in every area that you can think of, and you ask them, how did you make your decisions? How do you make the decision between yes and no? And that decision point, right there in the middle, is intuition. It's like, yes or no. Is this the right thing to do or not? And most of the time, your plan is right. You follow your plan and follow it. But every once in a while, something special comes along and you change your plan. You throw out the old plan